So here's my philosophy when it comes to comments in general. People need to largely ignore the only positive and only negative, and then focus on the bit in the middle and see if there's any validity in the criticism that's there.
Why?
Oh my god! I thought my part of the show was over. I am running out of gas here. Okay, this came up today in an interview on Smartlist. They talked to Mel Robbins, and it took me a hot minute to listen to her voice to go, oh, I love her. I've watched her on TikTok. She is, I think, the number one best-selling author right now in the world. Her TikToks are amazing because she has no nonsense talk. Like, she talks like I talk with F-bombs and dirty jokes and stuff, but she is really poignant about how to make your life better and how she made her life better. And the thing that she teaches is let them. So the adult talk here is, this is going to be really, really hard for us parents because when I get into this, we struggle with all this. Our kids might actually understand this a bit more easily than we do. But the whole principle is, your old boss, Joe, gave you grief about things. And I don't mean the stuff that you actually had to HR be a part of, but just standard grief. Her philosophy is let them. And then the second part of it is let me. Let them say horrible things about me or think whatever they're going to think about me. Let me go be XYZ, be who I want to be in a generic form, or let me go do this. And it really hit home for me because as much as it actually may surprise people, I still get caught up in other people's BS all the time. I try to pick up their problems, and it's just something. I think it's probably a coping mechanism from when I was younger because I could just fix things and do things, and then people liked it when I fixed things and did things, and then people do try to ride my coattails on things like it's. I'm very radioactive in my energy, and so they're like, "Oh, but you could do this, or we should do this together, or this," and it's not right. And it really is helpful that I'm working with somebody right now that I care for dearly. It's not Joe. I don't care for him that much. But no, but it's seriously not Joe. It is a different project. Just I don't think it's going to sound like Joe, but I don't know why I just said that. Uh, but I care for him dearly. But they're in a situation in life where they're not handling their life the way I think they should handle it. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of scrambling, and there's a lot of old world in them. And by that I mean they are very successful at doing certain things in this previous life, right? The pre-COVID, the pre-death in the family, the other things going on with them. And they have a lot of life piled on them. But part of that, at least half of that piled on life, is them trying to solve problems for everybody else and then still use this old world techniques and trying to force them into today. And we've had a few good hard talks, but even today, as I get more tired in a day, I start getting cranky. I'm just human, right? It gets cranky. I was trying to hear a different story on Smartlist today, and I kept getting texts. I started screaming at my radio, "Stop it! I just want to hear the blankety blankety blank story." And I kept having to go back, and I know I was being cranky, but it was like every time my text would go off, the podcast wouldn't stop playing. It just cuts off part of it, and then they'd back to back to anyway. But part of those texts were something I've been working on with them. And I told them up front, I don't know that I can sell this thing. I don't have enough of a connection with what I'm doing to get people that I don't have. Let's just say for giggles, I don't have 1,000-person email list that I can blast out. And I know at least 100 to 200 will jump in and help me with something or pledge or buy this ticket or whatever it is. And they didn't listen to me. And that's something I'm really, really learning to pick up on because you used to get mad. I'd always pick up on it. I always feel it inside. Whether I heard it or not, I always feel it that there's something off. I'm trying to do what they think I should do versus being me. This let them principle, I was actually just saying out loud, I'm going to let you do XYZ. I'm going to let me be me and know that my answer was, I don't know what to tell you about that. Because I want to go back and say, I told you 15 times. You kept saying, oh, you could sell 100 of these easy. You could sell it. I was like, there's nothing to base that on. Nothing. If you were to go analyze with what I'm doing is with my charity, with what I've done with my charity, the traffic with my charity, there's no data there that says I could sell 100 of anything because it's just not there yet for any kind of connection. There's nothing in my social media. There's nothing, and I have been putting my thing out. And this week at the conference that I'm going to, I'll be promoting it there. That's where I'm crossing my fingers that it'll do something. But then they start laying on that, well, I'll lose this, I'll lose that, all this. And I had to keep going, breathe in. I will let you believe in the world you believe in. I'm going to let me be me. And I know in this situation, I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm out here hustling every day, putting food on my table, and also
Every
hustling,
day I'm hustling.
hustling. That's right, baby. You got it. You never saw that movie, but you know the reference. I love it. It's hot out here for a pimp. Man, you got me going now. All right, anyway, that's the rest of the song. It's a great movie. I love that song. All right, Hustle and Flow. It's not for Joe. I'd watch it with Joe. Side note, Joe, there's our Patreon only feed. I get you and Kelsey to watch things with me that you would normally not watch, and then get you to find something good in it. Right. And I wouldn't like roll a truck over you where I know it's gonna be like offensive and horrible to you. But something like Hustle and Flow would not be on your radar. But that would be a very interesting thing. I would love anyway. I digress. So Joe, that's
Okay.
how do I learn to let them do them and let me be me? I've seen it in you. Like you get frustrated at times with other things, but you do work through it. We all do. When my wife gets stressed out, I tend to take that on. And lately I haven't been, which is very helpful around the house when I'm just like, okay, whatever. And I just keep moving on. How do you, and that, there's not a laissez-faire. It's not a we don't care. It's on SmartList, they did bring it back to like reading comments and how some people, actors, creatives, all of us that do stuff out in the public, we can get caught up in the good comments and sometimes get a little too fluffy in our heads about, oh, we're really great. Or we can lose ourselves in the negative comments because people are just out there ripping you apart. And she's like, just let them say the horrible thing. I'm not saying don't go block them and don't leave, but just let them and let you accept that you love what you do. So that's I've over-explained it, but you get it.
I think so. Here's my philosophy when it comes to comments in general, and I know this isn't exactly what the premise was here, but people need to largely ignore the only positive and only negative, and then focus on the bit in the middle and see if there's any validity in the criticism that's there, because there are a lot of people out there who you end up with these parasocial relationships where they know a lot more about you than you know about them. That's just how it's going to be because they're consuming your content. But a lot of times they want to see you succeed and they have ideas that they think could help you.
Yeah,
that doesn't always
track, and I get 1 billion of those after every year. Yeah, I understand.
Well, and you've got to be like the gold rush people where they're sifting through all of the dirt to find the little nuggets of gold to latch onto. And so being receptive to analyzing to see if there's anything that could actually be a benefit. Now you're gonna throw away a lot of ideas that are like, yeah, no, that doesn't fit with what we're going for, or there's just bad ideas. But other times you'll find stuff that you're like, this might be an okay idea. Let's run with it and see, give it a trial run. And sometimes those ideas end up being amazing. For instance, I watch some Minecraft YouTubers, and one of the bigger ones that I watch, his name is Green. Got millions of followers, got a lot of views, and he started a series several years back where it's now called the Life series, is what they call it, because all of them, like Last Life, Next Life,
way off on tangent.
I know. I'm sorry. That started off as just an idea, and he told everyone that he was asking to be involved. He was like, this may flop. We may not continue this. It may not be anything, but we're going to try it out and see if it sticks. And at this point, they're like 9 seasons deep into this possible idea
Sure.
that they just tried. And so you never know when that idea is going to be what sticks,
Okay, so that
regardless
is
of what it is.
definitely, and that's I think we have a much bigger conversation about that, but that's definitely off track of what this is. So let's
Yes.
bring it come back to Dragon Con. There are so many positives and negatives that come out of that working with creators. And we'll get away from the comments. I was going to say, I haven't worked with creators. How would you advise somebody to let them and give us there? But I'm going to bring it back to you and me. I frustrated the crap out of you on load in day on that Thursday, right? But so in that moment, going back to it, how would you, instead of getting frustrated, instead of going through the time it took to burn through it, and then we talked about it later, and then we got on board, how would you instead get to a let Charles do whatever and let me figure out how I'm gonna be happy or whatever the positive would be?
The positive there is we know things to discuss and workshop before we're going to load in.
That's not the same thing. You're still doing. You got to get to a philosophical in your heart. How do you let them be them and you be you, so you're not taking on the frustration or the anger? Kelsey, overruled. You are not allowed to bring in receipts.
So you and I was already frustrated because my car was broken. We were running late. We were getting close. We were having all kinds of other frustrations. And so I expressed how stuff has been set up in the past. You said, okay, but can we set it up like this? And I'm like, sure, but I don't know how to do that. So you'll have to show me. But what ended up happening is you latched on to, we got to do it like this. We got to do it like this. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know how to do that. So you got to show me.
I don't want to get into but that was what happened. How would you change it in the mantra of let them, so that you're peaceful, that you're always going, I'm me, I got you. How would you try to change that moment?
So in the moment, I largely ignored you and did what I could set up.
He planted his feet and bullied me, but that's okay. And
Well,
tried to ignore me. That's okay. But what would you change?
I focused on what I could do because of our technical limitations at the time and not having the internet. Regardless of what you were trying to say we should do, we couldn't actually attempt to do it. And so I was focusing on the stuff. Well, yes, you did. The next day,
but that's not
in
the
other room.
The point is, see, everybody. That's why I said us as adults, we have a hard time working with this concept.
So, but I focused on what I could do.
Okay.
In the moment, I focused on what I could do, and said, okay, what will be, we'll make it work. And when I'm getting overwhelmed at work, I try to do the same thing. To varying degrees of success, because I've got a team lead right now. My current team lead, he likes to pile on. Like he'll ignore you for a couple of days, and then he'll be like, update me on this, update me on this, update me on it. Like all of a sudden, just boom, 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 boom.
Okay, and that can get you internalize that, right? Your blood. Yeah, I get where you're going. You get, ugh.
And so he'll be like, Joe, do this, Joe, do this, Joe, do this, Joe. I'm like, you just told me to do 6 things that are completely different from each other. And so what I've started doing, to be blunt, is I focus on the first thing he gave me, and I ignore the rest until I'm done with the first thing that he gave me. Okay. And then when I finish that, I go back and I'm like, okay, which of these do you want me to work on next?
Okay, cool. Now, in the vein that I'm trying to help the audience, and I'm trying to help myself learn, for me, it's a mantra about how do you phrase what you just said about the boss, and you're focused on the one thing. And I let them blah, and I let me fill in the blank for that story.
Yeah, so I let them keep telling me to do stuff, but I do what I need to do first. I focus on what I need to get done and then follow up.
There you go. I like it. That's and it's not easy. It because you do and this person that and my wife was one of the people texting me tonight, and it was just I told her I was coming home and I have a show tonight, and whatever reason she didn't know I'm listening to this one story that I really wanted to hear, and she didn't know the other people were blowing me up. And like, really, you interrupted my story for an okay? But I was like, I'm just gonna let it. Sometimes you vent, but they're the same person that was blowing. She will send just massively long text with all this with no context. No, this is why I'm sending it. Here's a thought process. Here's what, and so I let them send whatever they want, get it out of their brain. And I let me go, if it's important, they will follow up with it and talk to me about it whenever we get on a phone call.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing helps. Um, I had a story about my wife, but I lost it. But yeah, because we'll digress. But that's what I'm working on right now. Is Mel Robbins is fantastic. I have shared many of her TikToks on my channel and to certain people. There's some I'm gonna look for and I'm gonna send it there. And she talks about ADHD and she explains it so well, and then talks about how to help manage some of that. And she talks about her life and how there's a science behind 5 4 3 2 1. I don't remember where I was kind of listening at the very beginning where she introduced it in this interview. So I didn't hear where she got it from, but there's a science behind it. But she was a little bit of why I would go listen to her, and you can make your own choices on listening to her or not, or reading her book or whatever. Is that somehow she's $800,000 in debt, and you know just massive problems in the house, this and that and other, and depressed, and didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. And she said, when you stop and you think about it, instead of just taking the action, and I felt this. So she said, I'm like, oh yeah, I do that. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go do this. And then when you think about it, then that negative thought starts piling and piling and piling. So if you go literally either out loud or in your head, you gotta do it backwards because if you count up to five, it doesn't have the same effect. You gotta count down 5 4 3 2 1, and you do. And she just did that's how she got out of bed for like the next 6 weeks. And then that's how she tried to get herself to get a job. And I want to apply for this 5 4 3 2 1, just do it. And there's so much more to that. But between that
Yeah.
and the let them, because I have that issue, man, during that frustration, because I saw the whole thing not differently in the actions, although we definitely can disagree on some actions. It's fine. We're humans. We disagree on things. But I was seeing Dragon Con in a different light than you were seeing it. You were coming in as how you've always come in. I came in as you want to be the next and future king. I gotta see where you're gonna go with this. And I'm thinking in different ways, and we're communicating in different ways. And that's where the let them part of that day was I'm gonna let Joe, I gotta let Joe figure it out. I gotta see what Joe's gonna do with this. And then later we did talk. And I
Yeah.
explained some of that to you, but and you explained some of your stuff to me, and that's really not the point. But it was I just stepped back and went, I'm not gonna fight Joe on this. I know what I need to do, and I know I need to let Joe figure out what he needs to do, and you did. And we barely until tonight we barely talk about that moment publicly. But we've talked about all the great things that did happen.
Yeah, there when it comes to the con, there's going to be frustrating moments where tech is not behaving or things are not going right. Um, and it's really easy with life in general to, especially when stuff's coming at you left and right, it's really easy to get wrapped up in the small things and lose sight of the big picture.
I think so.
And there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of, if you're able to develop this skill, you will go far in life if you can step back from the chaos and see the bigger picture and realize, it's not as bad or it's not as chaotic as it looks. As and you focus on when you step back, you can focus on what you need to do.
Yeah.
When you see that bigger picture, you don't you're no longer lost in the maze of frustration when you
Yeah.
can step back and see the map.
I would dare say, and we do need to get to our last one because I'm ready to gavel and go. That's another one. Gavel and go. We'll make that a shirt sticker. We'll make that anyway. Um, it was, I dare say, you hooked on to one of the rock god principles, which is you know where you want to go with Dragon Con, not just moving up to possibly be director, but you know you're there for a reason. You're there because you bring something to the table and you really want to make the magic. And sometimes if you can't see the magic, you just got to go with the flow or trust or whatever you want to call it. When I say go with flow, I don't mean just follow. You know, I'm talking about flow on a energetic level and go, okay, I know I'm going here. I'm holding on with a tight death grip. I'm going here. And right now it doesn't feel like it, but I will get there. And I saw that. I mean, I felt like I saw that. Is that what you're saying is I can barely see the light at the end of the tunnel and I can't see the next step, but I just keep going towards the light. And
Yeah.
you get there.
And after the fact, if you can sit down and write out lessons learned and you have that attitude of improvement, it'll just be
Yeah.
that much better the next time around.
Yeah. And I definitely plan on having a okay, in my head immediately it sounded like a jerk corporate thing, but I really am planning on having a one-on-one with you. And then me, you, Tyra, and Kaz having a small pre-planning meeting for next year. And we still have to do the volunteer wrap up and all that jazz. But anyway, all
Yeah.
right.